I think that's something that leads on nicely to another question that we get around where to start. You mentioned about coming in and doing like an intelligent automation assessment, and is that something that's something that's done and you do? How does that typically work, and do you basically help your customers like build a business case around specific technologies and then help them go back to the business and kick the program off? How does that typically a lot of stuck at that point of just doing RPA and then they don't know where to start? So and obviously it centers around things that they haven't done, but it's it's trying to identify get started.
Yeah, I think you've mainly answered the question there. So, and it is that simple, right? It's not necessarily about the answer is not necessarily about doing an assessment. The key to it is having a in-depth understanding or enough of an understanding in order to correctly identify opportunity. Because it's, as I say, it's very simple to go from yes RPA, no RPA, because there are this set of rules. But when you start to think about maybe even the wider intelligent automation ecosystem, I generally talk about 5 technologies. I actually view intelligent automation to be even wider than that. And so, understanding the nuances of something like natural language generation is actually quite different to, say, the nuances of natural language processing. To understand where text analytics and where the role of data science feeds in, and all of these things, and where actually it's right to have a update to your core system versus trying to automate something. So the step really from can you do RPA, yes RPA, no RPA, to really understanding intelligent automation and the various technologies and the role that each of them can play, and then understanding whether A, they should, B, whether if there's a business case there. Because again, once you start thinking about 5, 6, 10 different technology types, you might find a great opportunity for natural language generation. As an example, I'm working with a client at the moment, and one of the things that they do is they take numerical data and they write reports on the successfulness or not of investment funds. And that is an amazing example for where natural language generation technology is absolutely perfect. Its role is to take numerical data and to write a text-based summary of what it understands that numerical data is telling it.
Wow.
It's a great example. However, that technology is like 6 figures. It's expensive. So if you've only got 3 people doing it, unless there is a big backlog of stuff that you're not doing, whether there's a need for speed so that you're not necessarily taking a week to write a report, you want to do it in a few hours. Then it makes it very difficult to kind of sign off and agree that it's a great user case, but actually, is it the right thing to do? Probably not, because it's just not going to make a good financial sense when by the time you've paid for implementation and the software, actually it's costing you more money. So there is this real understanding of knowing what the technologies are, knowing the role they can play, knowing the types of processes that they're really strong at automating, but then also understanding the commercial aspects of that. So how long it takes to implement, what specialisms does it need to implement, and what the return, what the software costs are, whether it's recurring, perpetual. So all of that really is a load of information. The other thing is, and we spoke about this earlier, is that the RPA ecosystem is, RPA tools, there's a big 3, and then there's a load of smaller ones. When you start to look at intelligent automation, you've got some tools that do a couple of the aspects of the digital worker. But for every tool that does multiple, you've also got individual specialist tools within those sections. And suddenly you go from an ecosystem of three big ones and then some others that you know about, to, you take conversational AI, for example. I could probably name 30 vendors off the top of my head that you could have decent conversations with and who have got, decent brands working with them. And then you extrapolate that across the multiple different technology types. And suddenly you've gone from, well, it's going to be one of the big three to it's going to be something in this kind of 100 mark. And that is a really difficult place to be. So even if you know the opportunity and where that opportunity is, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have chosen the right tool. The other thing, when you get into the real nuance of this as well, is NLP is a really broad subject. You can class conversational AI as part of NLP. You could class speech to text as NLP, text analytics as NLP. So each of those subsections also has a number of specialist vendors. So even a section like NLP, there is no silver bullet one tool that does everything in that space. So you might have 6, 10, 20 different things that you want to do in that NLP space. There could be 6 or 7 different tools. So it's not really a wonder why people start scratching their heads to think about RPA is really simple in comparison to thinking about those next steps. I spent the last nearly 4 years at ISG speaking to pretty much a different vendor every week. And by nature, I'm a problem solver. I live to solve problems. I use technology to solve problems now. I've used people, process, you name it. Like, my role in life is to solve problems. So I'm so inquisitive. Customers, clients give me problems. I'm going to find a solution for them.
Yeah.
And if I've got a client that's told me 6 months ago they've got this problem, and I end up speaking to a technology vendor in another 6 months' time, I'm still linking that. All right, I know exactly the person whose problem you solve. A lot of people don't necessarily have the time or the will to be able to spend that much time investigating technology purely for our clients' benefit.
Yeah.
And so it's not really a surprise that people really are struggling to move from basic RPA into this world of intelligent automation. But really to understand what is the right next step, it really is to try and hone into one and go incrementally. So don't bite off more than what you can chew. Don't try and go for 5, 10, 15 different capabilities at once. Pick one with the biggest next level of benefit, and that's either it has benefit that it delivers itself, or it allows our RPA to increase the amount of processing that it can do, subsequently increases the amount of benefit that you can deliver. And it really is as simple as that. From a where do you go next? Assess, understand where value can be extracted, and then build your business case, and then just go one technology at a time. The key is to do the assessment once, though. And this is a mistake a lot of people make, is if you only assess a process now for RPA, I guarantee that you're going to have to do another assessment when you look at it through this intelligent automation lens. And that's certainly for me one of the things that I have been pushing internally now for the last kind of 3 years. Is RPA, although it's very hot right now, is still yesterday's news as far as being cutting edge is concerned. And so if we're really going to help differentiate ourselves, then we need to be thinking about the next 3 years, not about the now. And so, enabling all of our process assessments to be completed through the lens of intelligent automation, one of the things that I'm most proud about with working at ISG, and the fact that we've been able to enable that throughout our organization. That's definitely a key differentiator, and is helping our clients, even though they may only be starting on their RPA journey. We're creating them a roadmap for the next 2 or 3 years that spans multiple technologies, and I think that is really, really important. You do need to be thinking about the what's next now, even if you're starting out.
Yeah, I suppose it's not focusing on what you're doing right now. It's you've got a plan for the future in know where you're going. I think, like you say, it's a journey. It's not just a sort of quick fix. But just going back to, you mentioned around the so many different vendors out there for all the different types of technologies. In terms of with the different technologies and bringing them on board, is it easy to get all these technologies working together? Is that as simple as, we can just plug and play? We've got RPA in the business. Now we're going to look at bringing in another technology. Is it that straightforward, or is it is it a lot more complex than that, or does it sort of depend?
So it depends. But if you look at all the major RPA vendors, and you look at things like the digital exchange and the bot store and all of these good things that the vendors have got, these online marketplaces, these online marketplace for new complementary technologies.
Yeah.
The kind of answers are already there, right? So and it's not that everything has been answered, but there's a lot of integrations that have been completed in the background, and there's a lot of it's interesting that I've seen the conversation with vendors, partners, of ISG change probably over the last kind of 6 to 12 months, whereas it's gone from this is what we do to this is the role we can play in an ecosystem. And these are the people who we're talking to about how we can work together really well.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that a lot. And I think there's a definite realization that there is no panacea in the world of automation. There is no one solution that does everything. There's no one solution that's ever going to do everything brilliantly, as much as they may believe that they can do.
Yeah.
And so playing nicely in an ecosystem is absolutely the future. In an ideal world, it would be so much simpler if one tool did everything. But again, jack of all trades, master of none. And in a world where you're asking a technology to do some pretty complex stuff as far as technology is, then we at the moment, at least, we're definitely going to have to get these tools working together.
Yeah.
If you think about something like OCR as a really easy stepping stone, you've got some great tools that work well together. You've got WorkFusion as an example. A little bit weaker on the RPA side, but ML and OCR, okay. AmpWorks, another good example there. Automation Anywhere and its IQ bot. So you've got RPA and OCR working really well together in single tools. But I've got a lot of clients where they're using Abby as an example, market leading OCR tool with RPA seamlessly. Abby basically does what it does and creates a structured output for RPA to pick up. So what is the integration? It's really an integration. I mean, RPA is just going to a location where Abby has dumped something and picking it up.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beauties of RPA, is that if any tool can dump an output, a decision, anything into a place where it's structured, RPA can just pick it up and do something with it. And so that for me is one of the absolute beauties of RPA versus maybe some other technologies that are out there.
Yeah.
And you can get pretty clever with RPA as well. I mean, you could turn some of the processes that you are building actually into web services. So it acts like an API, although it's far from it's an API that's built by a business user. So there are definitely ways and means. You've got SDKs, you've got VBOs, you've got different methods of these technologies talking to each other as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tools now, and they make it so easy to integrate. And it's not always easy and perfect. And it's, between one tool and another. But, if their tool makes it incredibly difficult to work with any other tools, I'm going to say now that tool is going to have a short shelf life.
Yeah.
It's all about the ecosystem, and intelligent automation is all about tools being friendly with each other. So it's not every answer is out there at the moment,
But the way that, you know, the market's going, the conversations I'm having, the way that the vendors are all talking, it's all about partnerships. It's all about working hand in glove with each other and making it really simple for end clients to get these tools. And the reason being is they understand that in order to be successful themselves, you know, as a standalone and for the client, they have to do this.
Has to work, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, okay, good. Yeah, because it's always interesting to, but like you say, the jack of all trades side of things, because you hear, you know, a lot of stories around some of the vendors claiming to do so much, and it's just curious because you've got all these other different technologies out there, and like you say, using a specialist just makes sense. You know, you want to get that specific, you know, thing done right, and you know, you'd obviously go to a specialist for that. You don't want to just sort of generalize your, you know, your program, and you kind of want to make it work, but it's a bit confusing sometimes, I think, for a lot of people that we speak to. You know, how will they get those things to work? Is it that easy? So it's interesting to hear that, you know, that ecosystem does exist, and these vendors are actually making their products easy to, you know, to connect to other products as well.